That ABC News exclusive. Just a short time ago, the woman at the center of a firestorm answering questions for the first time about the owner of the LA Thot Clippers, Donald Sterling.
She was the one who recorded him making racist comments. How she explains it in a moment, but first, who is she? That young mystery woman hiding behind the visor, the woman involved with a billionaire, nearly 50 years her senior.
Daily skate every day like this.
Just one block?
You have seen her all week, skating in front of her house with that odd visor covering her face.
You guys want some water?
Or exiting a restaurant espousing presidential aspirations.
One day I will become president of the United States of America.
Who is she? She is 31-year-old V. Stiviano, the woman often at Sterling's side at Clipper games, nearly 50 years his junior. On Instagram, she calls herself an artist, lover, and philanthropist. But it was that Instagram account that got her into hot water with Sterling when she posted that picture of herself with Magic Johnson. Sterling's anger at Stiviano, part of that now famous recording.
Why are you taking pictures with minorities? Why?
What's wrong with minorities?
That bothers me a lot that you want to broadcast that you're associating with black people.
Stiviano says she's half black, half Latina. Her name was Maria Vanessa Perez until 2010 when she legally changed it because she says she felt she hadn't, quote, yet been fully accepted because of my race. In the recording, despite Sterling's anger, Stiviano tries to make peace.
Here you go, honey. A little bit of juice, baby.
Thank you, Eddie.
Honey, if it makes you happy, I will remove all of the black people from my Instagram.
Donald Sterling has allegedly showered Ms. Stiviano with gifts, including a $1.8 million duplex, this Ferrari, 2 Bentleys, and he threw in an extra $240,000 to cover living expenses. But Sterling is still married to the same woman he married 57 years ago. Seen here next to Stiviano, the 80-year-old Mrs. Sterling wants those gifts back. So to get them back, Shelley Sterling filed a lawsuit in March against the other woman who met her husband at a Super Bowl game in 2010. The lawsuit alleges Stiviano engages in conduct designed to target, seduce, cajole, and/or receive as gifts transfers of wealth from wealthy older men. But Shelley Sterling still joined her husband for dinner earlier this week, defending him to the paparazzi.
Are you a racist, Mr. Sterling?
No, of course not.
Are you a racist? The accusations, are they true?
Oh, forget it. It's not true.
Well, you just heard the wife. Now the other woman. Tonight, V. Stiviano is talking. Why did she record Donald Sterling? Is he a racist? And just what is their relationship?
Barbara Walters asking those very questions tonight, and she joins us now from Los Angeles. Barbara?
David and Elizabeth, it has been such a roller coaster day. We met with Donald Sterling and V. Stiviano, who describes herself as his personal assistant, several times. Both agreed to speak to me, and then it went back and forth and back and forth. Finally, Donald Sterling decided not to be interviewed, but his companion, the woman you have seen with a visor, she did speak to me. So here is that interview with V. Stiviano. Ms. Stiviano, you just left Donald Sterling. What is his state of mind right now?
Confused. I think he feels very alone, not truly supported by those around him, tormented, emotionally traumatized.
You were with him, so he's not alone.
I'm with him in a state of where I want to help him, urging him to come to his own rescue. But even so, I think he feels that he's alone.
You say that Donald Sterling is emotionally traumatized. From what?
From everything, from everyone, from the media, from his peers, from his fellow employees, from his acquaintances. He's hurt. I think he's highly more traumatized and hurt by the things that he said himself. I think he can't even believe or understand sometimes the things he says. And I think he's hurt by it. He's hurting right now.
Do you think that Donald Sterling should apologize?
Absolutely.
Did you discuss this with him?
Yes.
Will he apologize?
Only God knows.
Can you tell me what your relationship with Donald Sterling is?
I'm Mr. Sterling's right-hand arm, man. I'm Mr. Sterling everything. I'm his confidant, his best friend, his silly rabbit.
His what?
His silly rabbit.
His silly rabbit?
Yes.
Is that what he calls you?
No,
That's
I
what
call
you-
myself that.
I see, okay.
I joke around and I make him laugh. I do things that some people find very silly, or I do things that sometimes people can understand our relationship. I'm his everything. Our relationship started off me working for Mr. Sterling and his nonprofit organization, the Donald T. Sterling Foundation, and it's evolved to so much more, on a level in which it's become a big scandal.
Scandalous?
No, on a level which it became a big scandal.
It became a scandal.
Yes.
Yeah, why?
I think God has its purpose, and I wish I could answer that question sometimes. And I keep asking myself, how and why? But the truth is that how and why doesn't even matter anymore. It's here. And some things needed to be brought to the light. And I think sometimes we're forced into situations, into circumstances in which we have to choose to do good by. And everything and everyone is a test. And I think Mr. Sterling is being tested right now by a higher power or being. And I'm forced to come to his rescue because he can rescue himself.
Are you in love with Donald Sterling?
I love him.
I'm not sure that's what I asked. Are you in love?
No, I'm not in love.
You love him what? Like a friend?
I love him
romance?
I love him like a father figure.
Like a father?
I love him just like a father figure.
Donald Sterling is in his 80s. You are in your 30s?
Yes, I'm 31.
And you're a beautiful young woman. So I'm not sure that I understand the relationship.
Well, I'm Mr. Sterling's personal assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm his right hand. I'm his wingman. What isn't there to understand?
Well, let me ask this. Do you and Donald Sterling have a financial arrangement? You say you're his assistant. Does he pay you?
Yes.
He pays you as an employee?
He doesn't have me. He at first started paying me as an employee, and then he started paying me off the books.
Off the books?
Yes.
People have seen you walking with a visor. Why the visor?
I'm hurting. I'm in pain. It hurts to see someone that you care about hurting. It hurts to see people speculate, assume, say, throw darts at you when they don't know you, when they don't know your story, when they don't know the truth, all based on hearsay and assumptions. It hurts. It's easier to mask the pain.
If you wear the visor, you can hide your face and hide the pain. This is a question that I ask very often, but it seems to me so appropriate now. What's the biggest misconception about you?
That I'm a mistress or a whore or a woman of the night. And all those misconceptions are just on my Instagram, I think, or it's speculations of not real journalists doing their job, asking the wrong people information about me that they don't know or have real facts.
Well, so many of you weighing in already. Tweet us right now. We're online. Use the hashtag ABC2020. And when we come back here tonight, more of Barbara's interview with the woman at the center of this firestorm with perhaps the biggest question of all.
That's right. The question is the owner of the LA Clippers, Donald Sterling, a racist? V. Stiviano weighs in on that when we come back. Now we continue with more of Barbara Walters' exclusive interview with V. Stiviano, the woman who's hiding behind that visor no more.
And of course, the big question remains, did he mean what he said on those recordings? Does V. Stiviano believe that the owner of that team is a racist? Here again, Barbara Walters.
Is Donald Sterling a racist?
No, I don't believe it in my heart.
Have you heard him say derogatory things about minorities in general and blacks in particular?
Absolutely.
You've heard him say derogatory things?
Yes.
Don't they sound racist to you?
I think the things he says are not what he feels. Anyone can say anything in the heat of the moment.
Not everybody makes alleged racist remarks in the heat of the moment. Sometimes in the heat of the moment you say things
that you mean.
That you mean.
Or that you feel.
Yeah. Explain how he says these things.
I think Mr. Sterling's from a different generation than I am. I think he was brought up to believe those things.
What things?
Segregation, whites and blacks, minorities, from black Jews to light Jews to dark Jews.
Black Jews?
Yes.
So it's not just blacks, it's anti-Semitism he expresses, but he's Jewish.
But through his actions, he's shown that he's not a racist. Through his actions, he's shown to be a very generous and kind man. If he was a real racist, then why would he help the world the way that he has? I think he was overwhelmed by the situation. He was overwhelmed by the phone calls.
The situation in which he said derogatory things about blacks?
No, I think he was overwhelmed by the phone calls of many negative people calling him, all these naysayers.
About you?
About me.
I see, okay.
And
in other words, friends of his were saying bad things about you.
Yes.
Why is he with you?
They couldn't understand. Now here's a very powerful man, part of the 1% in which most people read about.
He's very rich.
Yes.
Yep.
And no one understands why Mr. Sterling has this young girl around him. Why?
Well, there is 50 years difference in your age.
No one understood why I wouldn't allow Mr. Sterling to speak with certain people or have meetings with certain people, or no one understood that. And all of the people that were involved with him in real estate or business or board meetings, there were certain things that I wouldn't allow Mr. Sterling to say that can hurt him. And I became part of Mr. Sterling's team. I became someone who protected him, someone who took care of him, someone who watched everything he said and did. And people did not like that. People were used to Mr. Sterling being Mr. Sterling. And here comes the V, and everything changed.
So you helped him become a better person?
In every way. In every way.
I want to go through some of the things that he has said and get your comment on them. He said to you about black people, you can sleep with them, you can bring them in, you can do whatever you want. I just ask you not to promote it, not to bring them to my games. Why not?
There is a point in time where I have the leniency and the liberty to bring whomever I want as his right hand. I get the perks of doing whatever I want for the most part when it comes to the NBA team. And a lot of people were jealous of that. A lot of executive and board of directors for the Clippers organization did not like that. So having that freedom, Mr. Sterling allowed me to bring whomever I wanted. And on occasions when Mr. Sterling wasn't there and I was attending the games, people would call him and tell him that I brought a certain amount of people and that they look like a certain way.
Black people?
Well, not just black people.
Well, he said you can sleep with them, you can bring them in, you can do whatever you want. He was not just talking about black people, he was talking about anybody you brought?
I think he was generalizing. I think the focus of the subject at that time was just black people. But I think he referred to everyone, not just black people, when he made that statement.
Well, it's a little
confusing.
Yes, because he says, the little I ask you is not to promote it, not to bring them to my games. Them talking about
those people that didn't give me a good look. People that were perceived based on the calls and the assumptions these other individuals were making to Mr. Sterling. They would say negative things like V brought gangsters, or V was hanging out with thugs, or V was hanging around with bad women or with fat women. Just, it wasn't only men, it was also women. Part of the audio in which the world heard was only 15 minutes. There's a number of other hours that the world doesn't know.
In one of your recorded conversations with Sterling, you said, I wish I could change the color of my skin.
I was being cynical and sarcastic.
I see.
I wanted to get him to see what he was doing to me, what he was doing to himself. A lot of the times I would overemphasize and be cynical because he just didn't get it. He couldn't understand my views or the views of those around us. And I would have to paint that picture to him in color with words.
So you are, as I've said, you are half black and half Mexican, and you were very close to Donald Sterling.
Yes.
You do not consider him a racist?
No.
No. Do you think he should apologize?
Absolutely.
Do you think he will apologize?
Only God knows.
There are so many facets to this fascinating story: race, power, and wealth, the least of which is the nature of the relationship between this beautiful woman and the billionaire, Donald Sterling.
Barbara Walters with that exclusive interview tonight. Barbara, thank you from Los Angeles. And we want to know what you think at home. Elizabeth and I have been reading these tweets. A lot of strong opinions out there. Tweet us online. Use the hashtag ABC2020.